And we are live. So hopefully you've seen the notification. Unfortunately, Amar is not available today. He had to rush at the hospital. So he's deeply, deeply sorry. He won't be able to join us today. But I have a very, very good news to share with you because yes, you won't meet my friend Amar, but you will meet again a very, very dear friend of mine, my homie, the Grant Smith, the growth farmer himself. So, a beloved member of our Hounds of Business community. So, Dee, I am so happy to have you with me today. Welcome, welcome.
So honored, man. Thank you so much.
So you're very very welcome, Dee. So I was like, guys, last minute. So and it's on me. I didn't check my messages early enough. So I saw that Amar was unavailable very late. So I had to rush. So okay, what should I do? Should I cancel? Should I just go by myself? And I felt the best way would just see that opportunity to have someone that I appreciate with me, that I deeply respect. And the thing is, of course, we won't talk about Amar stuff because I want Amar stuff to be taught by Amar himself, right? So it will be rescheduled to a few weeks in the future. And Dee and I, we decided to tell you about topics that are extremely, extremely precious to us, which are collaboration and storytelling, and how it's intertwined and how it's covered in many different ways in many different medias. So before we start and warm up, very first, Oli, thank you so much for being here and supporting us. You're amazing. We so deeply appreciate your friendship. Another beloved member of the Hounds of Business community. I see Benedict just joined. I am thrilled that you've been able to join Benedict, a fellow geek nerd and gamer. I know you will appreciate our episode today. We won't talk about games per se, and actually, I might do a wink just for you because I would love to talk of the Life is Strange series that I'm sure you know. But yeah, before we dive in, Dee, what would you like to say to our beloved audience?
Well, I'm always thrilled and honored to get to watch your streams when you do this show, Kevin. I don't, being a member of the Hounds, we're connected with so many amazing people that have shows regularly. I do my best to attend yours on a consistent basis because you always have the most interesting people, and because you are one of the most interesting people that I know. Um, and it's always a thrill to get to see and hear these. I mean, we are surrounded by people that tell amazing stories. I call myself the Superman of storytelling, but here's the thing, like, and I discover this. I discover this every day. Having conversations with Heidi Mark, my co-host for my show on the Hero Story Garden. Her way of telling stories is very unique and very interesting and very different. But I think most of the time when we're telling stories, we're not always aware that we're telling stories. We think we're just talking about something, or we're just making a statement about something. Or she had a whole thing yesterday, and it's different in England than it is in America. She calls them tin openers. We call them can openers in America. But she was so frustrated with why there's not a tin opener that lasts more than 3 months. Like, why? How hard is it to make a tin opener that can work? And I was like, you just told me this vast story about something that actually works that shouldn't be all that complicated. There's a story there. So the idea of us doing collaborations and us having collaborative storytelling is not something that we have to go out and search for. It's right in front of us if we'll just allow ourselves to see it.
Yeah, I love it's fascinating how differences can create wonderful stories. I know, it's one of my favorite topics, like-mindedness versus complementarity, and how we want both in our lives, both in our social lives, but actually in our overall lives. So I feel, yeah, guys, you see what kind of chemistry. Everything we just discussed is absolutely unscripted. We just started with that idea. So we planned a little bit. I like to plan at least a little bit, right? My friend here is a huge fan of going just improvisation right off the bat, but I like at least a little bit of structure. So I have a few things in mind that I'd like to share with you. But very first, I would like to say, okay, so very first, hey, this is today's theme, Misfitness, collaboration and storytelling, and see how all these different things intertwine. If you have any questions to the to me, to yourself, just ask in the comments, please. We would love to know what's on your mind. I'd love to first to say hi to Lonnie, to Jonathan, to Jane, to Matt, to Jen Lynn. We're already bursting with vibes and people and wonderful listeners, and hopefully also questioners. We'll see. But at least many commenters, which I deeply appreciate. Thank you so much. So we appreciate your presence, and we will make sure this conversation is worth your while. So I have decided to share three different pieces of media, three different creations that to me have a very high value, both on the collaboration and on the storytelling side of things. One book, one movie, and one webtoon. You might never have heard about that word before, webtoon. If you're familiar with the mangas from Japan, you know those books, white and black books with kind of comic books, right? The Japanese way. Webtoons are kind of the same thing coming from Korea, and actually you read them on your phone, so it's totally different format, totally different new way to tell a story, totally new type of storytelling. And I read already quite a lot of several dozens of webtoons since I discovered that, and there is one specific that I would love to share. There are many that really I already cherish deeply, but that one is super special to me. But before I share my own stuff, I would like to put the limelight on my guest today, Dee, and give you the opportunity to start, because I know you have something else you'd like to share. So I would love to give you the opportunity to shoot first.
Well, we prior to this conversation talked about a couple things. So will you tell me which one you're keying in on right now, so I know where to follow your guidance?
So I really enjoyed your bully story, the one with the planes, because it absolutely links to my origin story. You know my origin story, right? So I feel that one is very dear to me for extremely personal reasons. And I feel like I enjoy sharing Marvel stuff with you so much. Like we're both Marvel fans, right? Absolutely unapologetically. So I'm a huge comics fan and Marvel. I love what Marvel has done with movies and stuff. Just you're already doing such a good job with that with our friend Heidi. I feel like it might be a little bit redundant to do that here. Well, why not? If you feel appealed to, just I'd love to give you another opportunity to express another of your talents and another perspective. Because that's the idea. I wanted to give, a broader idea. So we could have just discussed about one creation. And I felt, you know what? I like to actually show different approaches, at least from my perspective, one book, one movie, one webtoon. So I like the idea of giving you the opportunity to explore something different from what you're currently doing.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so I'll just, from the Marvel side of things, I'll just do a shameless plug if that's all right. Uh, so for everybody here that's a member of the Hounds, you guys probably know Heidi Mark. She's one of the most incredible ladies, incredible people that I would, just speaking for you, Kevin. I hope that's okay. Most incredible people that both of us know. She's an inspirational leader and somebody that brings such a different perspective on understanding life and understanding ourselves. But she and I have a show that's called the Hero Story Garden. Our next episode is going to be on Tuesday of next week, the 16th at 9 a.m. Central Time. That's 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I have no idea what that is on other parts of the world. So you do your own time calculation with that. But we're focusing next week on Tony Stark / Iron Man and what it means to be in personal development, because he is actually the poster child for what personal development looks like, and something that Heidi talks about it regarding what she calls personal development hell. And I don't know, I spent a long time in personal development hell, and basically it's the idea that there's something wrong with me and I've got to fix this one thing. If I can fix this one thing, then everything else is going to work out. And we as consumers and we as people that are interested in growing in ourselves and developing ourselves, we bought into this bullshit lie by all the marketing gurus and all the social personal development gurus for the longest time, that if you just buy into my 12-step program, I'll solve all your problems and everything will work out. And it doesn't work that way. And on that point, going back to what Kevin was saying a second ago about the bully story, there's a story that I wrote about 16 years ago. It's available on my website. It's growthfarming.com/products. All of my stories that I've written are there. I've also got a lot of transformational courses and programs and stuff. It's all about transforming your story, telling your story as the story of love, you being the best version of yourself. And this is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time fix. Anybody that tells you or tries to sell you on some sort of one-time fix is a charlatan, snake oil salesman who needs to be punched in the throat. I am the kindest person you will probably ever meet. And yes, I said punched in the throat. Anyhow, one of my stories is called The Dog Fighter. It's at the very bottom of the stories page. And it tells the story of an RAF pilot, aka a Royal Air Force pilot, who finds himself on he's not on a mission. He's just flying over with two of his buddies over this small little Air Force base in England. And they discover a whole squadron of scout Nazi planes. And they can't just say, hey, there's some Germans flying around up here. We're not really sure what they're about, but we're just going to kind of buzz by and make sure they, see us so that they can leave, because there's only 3 of them, but there's 10 of the other guys. So they find themselves in a dog fight. Now, the story is called The Dog Fighter, not necessarily because of the military style dog fighting that takes place, but the one main character's bravery and courage to engage in a fight that there's no way on paper, or there's no way in, if we look at, odds, the odds are stacked against him. He should go back and try to get reinforcements, but he doesn't, because he knows that's a fool's bet. What gives him the courage is an experience that he had when he was a kid, where in a very similar situation, he was playing with his buddies, and a giant dog got loose. A dog that was trained to guard junkyard crap. But it gets loose and it's aggressive and it comes after them. And he's just a little kid, but he knows if he goes home and tells his dad that he ran away, his dad's going to hurt him. Well, his dad's going to punish him more than this dog ever could. So he decides, I can't go back and tell my dad that I ran away. Actually, that's not true. he does run away the first time, and he goes home and he has a conversation with his dad, and his dad's like, "You wouldn't let some kid rough you up like that. Why would you let a dog do that to you?" So the next time they're playing outside and the dog shows up again, all the little boys run away except him. And he learned that sometimes the bully that thinks that they're bigger and badder is used to everybody bowing down to them. Actually, I've got a real life story, if you don't mind me telling this, Kevin. The exact same thing. So there's a buddy of mine, his name's Casey. Casey and I are both big boxing fans. And so he lives right down the street from me. When we get together, we end up telling stories of all kinds of boxing stuff. I did boxing about 17 years ago. But Casey was telling me a story, this real life thing. He was at his job one day, and there's this big giant dude. I think the guy's like 6'5". He's used to throwing his weight around and harassing people. But he pulled out my buddy's charger from the wall, started using a bunch of obscenities and making a whole bunch of threats about how he's going to beat the crap out of whoever it was that had this stuff. And so my buddy was not in the mood for dealing with crap from anybody that day. And so he's like, "All right, that's my stuff. You don't have to pull it out of the wall. You ready to go? Let's go." The guy's like, "No, hold on, man." Like, and he's like, "No. You could have gone left. You could have gone right. You chose to go left. We're gonna go left. This is how it's gonna go down. Let's go. Let's do it." And my buddy's my size, not my size. He's a little bit heavier, but he's 5'7". I'm 5'7". 5'7" versus 6'6". The odds are stacked against you. And when you're used to being the bully and throwing your weight around and everybody bowing down to you and, "Oh, I can't do anything to you because you're bigger than me," you're used to getting your way and you're used to being a dick and getting away with it. My homeboy wasn't having any of that stuff. And it's the same exact thing. What ended up happening was the same exact thing that happens in the story that I tell called The Dog Fighter. And when you show up in your full self, not backing down because somebody else is bigger or more aggressive or being a complete asshole and used to getting away with that, when you show your true power because your inner world creates your outer circumstances and experiences. And whether we're talking about superheroes in comic books or movies, we're talking about real life people like my buddy, or we're talking about athletes of any kind, or even non-athletes of any kind. When you know who you are and you stand in your power, the world bows down to you, my friend, because that's the way that it works. And so I see storytelling and our life experiences being hand in hand compadres and collaborators in this thing that we call life.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm not kidding. I could literally listen to you for hours. And actually, I sometimes do that. I have to admit, listening to your shows. And okay, how cool was that? I know would like to know more about that dogfight. Very first, I love that term, dogfight. All right, especially as a member of the hounds now, it definitely speaks to me. And I always enjoy that term. And that sounds an amazing story. I love that how you teased us and how you linked it to a real life story that happened to you. And actually, yeah, I feel so many of us, we had that kind of experience, being discriminated, being, bullied around by some bigger, better, badasser guys. And actually, at least to me, I feel like it might have been meant to be. I feel like not all bullying is born equal in a way. And at least in my opinion, I am actually deeply, genuinely grateful to my bullies because they put me on a path. They created a hole in me that, yes, was extremely painful for a very long time and that, yes, broke me for some time or more pushed me to broke myself for some time. Sure. Yet they are at the source of what I claimed for myself, what I went to own for myself. And it's the source of my transformation at the same time. If I didn't have that, I would have a very bland life, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm all wrong. Maybe I'm just making stories, right? We are talking about storytelling. But I really feel there is something like that. And actually, this bullying served me. Yes, it destroyed me for some time. Yes, it's belittled me for some time. Or once again, I belittled myself because of that. And at the same time, it's what made me Mr. Mingle. It's what made me crave to become Mr. Mingle. So actually, I feel it was an amazing fertilizer. And I use that nasty analogy all the time, and I hope you won't mind, guys. But the thing, if and it will especially resonate with sharing that with D, the growth farmer. If you know about farming or about tending a garden, you probably know what is the very best substance to put on your crop or field to fertilize it. And it is poop. If you want to grow your seeds and if you want to fertilize your soil, you put poop on it. Literal one, right? And you could call it in a more fancy way. We have that in French, right? We use another term to call it when we use it for fertilizer, but it's the same. And actually, Jonathan mentioned the shadow work. To me, it's exactly that. Using your shadows, your darkness, not despising it, not rejecting it, not hating it, but actually leveraging it, really finding the gems in it, understanding the lessons, and building upon that to reveal what is already in you. And I love what you mentioned about the personal development hell. That I genuinely believe that actually we have already our very best version inside of ourselves, and the worst, and all the versions in between. And actually doing some personal growth work allows us to put more light on the version we prefer, would like to emphasize. It's really how I see it. And yes, it's an ongoing journey. The same way you don't go to the gym once and you expect to have The Rock, the same body as Dwayne Johnson. It might happen, who knows, but it probably won't happen by itself. You better give it, a nudge or two on a regular basis. It's the same with personal growth. You don't expect a quick fix that will last forever. You just keep digging, keep deepening, keep refining over time. And at least, yeah, once again, it's the way I see it. So love that so much. I don't know. I've lost count. Way too many comments, which is not a critic at all. I love all your comments, guys. Just I couldn't keep up because first I have hard time to keep up when I'm talking. But I will let me catch up a little bit. I don't know if there were any questions. Oh no, it doesn't seem like a real question.
When you're playing
I feel
host
it's
and
our
producer
friend
at the
Oli,
same time.
Oli doing his amazing puns. I love your puns and jokes so much, Oli. Yeah, I love it. So it's not a real question. So before I share my own, stories, the stuff I prepared, would you like to add something, build upon what I just shared, Dee?
Well, first off, dude, when you're playing the role of host and producer at the same time, you deserve about 5 different awards for that. And I totally understand where you're coming from. That's the role that I play, a co-host and producer when I'm doing the Hero Story Garden. It's a lot of stuff to keep up with, and for you to do so seamlessly reveals your mastership in a variety of ways. So kudos to you on that, man. Um, we what you were saying about, we put poop on our gardens to make it grow, and how we need, like, if you look at any, I think it's part of the hero's journey, whether we're looking at this from a superhero standpoint or we're looking at this from any character arc. So you've got the list of movies and books and stuff. Look, there is not a character that you have found any fondness for in any way, shape, or form, including characters. Let's go back to when we were little kids in Sesame Street. All right. So Bert and Ernie, there's several episodes. Bert has a rough day. Actually, Bert has a rough day most of the time. That guy's pretty angry. He's got some anger management issues, and it's Ernie that's cheering him up. Okay. But the whole premise of these, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like, and I'm dating myself going back to the 80s, but like those are the little kid things that I watched when I was growing up, and they address like the fact that it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and maybe the bully isn't the kid that's like picking on you and calling you names and making you feel inferior. Maybe the bully is just something that's going on inside of you where you don't feel good about yourself. Maybe you are your own bully at sometimes. And so there's this aspect about what Kevin was saying about how, the best version of us is already inside of us. It's not something that we have to try to earn or try to get to. Part of the personal development hell that I've been overcoming is loving all the different parts of myself. Loving the part of me that is perpetually scared and afraid. Loving the part of me that wants to run away when things get tough. Loving the part of me that questions everything and doubts everything and doesn't fully believe in myself. Do I reject that part of me and say he's weak? Because I did that for a long time. Or do I say it's okay, I love you? One of the things that I've learned in my work, in hey, speaking of Heidi, the gentle rebel, good to see you here, my friend. One of the things that I've discovered in my own journey is that grace is the ultimate medicine and the ultimate balm, and not fix, but the ultimate like way to just like cover everything with goodness. And I have a simple practice for grace. It's just 5 words. I'll count them out for you. Ready? It's okay. I love you. And me giving that gift to myself all day, every day, all the different versions of me. There's an asshole inside of me. I can't get pissed off at assholes that exist outside of me because that asshole exists inside of me too. He comes out and says all kinds of terrible things about myself and other people, and I have to love that guy because he's a part of me. And so that reminds me that when I experience assholes like 6 foot something people that like to throw their weight around or whatever, I will throw down with you physically if I have to get you to back the F off. But it's also okay. I love you because, like, I think it was Jinlin said, everybody's a mirror. Or as one of my favorite teachers, Neville Goddard, said, everyone is you pushed out. And so, in any given situation, the story that's taking place outside of me is the story that's taking place inside of me. It's up to me to see what it is that's actually going on and to say, it's okay, I love you. And I think that is where we are in terms of our ongoing personal development and also the ongoing story of love that we're telling ourselves. So, when I call myself the growth farmer, I am farming my inner garden, the garden of my heart and the garden of my mind. And when I realized, I experienced this about 7 years ago, I went through divorce that I didn't see coming. But when my former spouse walked out the door, I thought that meant, well, that really confirms that you really are unworthy. You really are not good enough. She just showed you, she's the proof. And then I had this spiritual experience where God inside of me said, you don't know what love really is, and you don't know how to love yourself. And that is why you are in pain. And I realized that I had been telling myself, I've been farming inside my heart and inside my mind rejection, bitterness, scorn, unworthiness. I had gardened that. Everybody was just reflecting what I believed to be true about me. So I decided, okay, if I don't know what love really is, I've got to learn what that is. And it's got to be something different than what religion has taught me, something different than what my family line and genealogy has taught me, something different than what culture and society has taught me. It's got to be something different. It's got to be something more. There's more to it than this. So what I am growth farming, I'm growth farming love. I plant it inside my heart and I plant it inside my mind every single day, because that is what I want to produce from my life with my actions, attitudes, and behaviors. And that's what I want to attract more of into my life. And it is an ongoing process of growing and growing and harvesting and pruning and dealing with some shit but that's what this process is. And so when you see me talking about growth farming, you see me talking about storytelling, you see me talking about love, it's all the same thing. That's the story that we're living.
Yeah, and it's always a story. I love that so much. And actually, it reminds me of one of the pillars of Buddhism. And I don't identify as a Buddhist, but I've been deeply influenced by Buddhism. And one of these pillars is actually this entire universe is merely an illusion, just a figment of our imagination. So actually, it's all a giant story that we are telling ourselves, and you don't have to buy that. And yes, when you're touching your chair or table or your own face, it sounds and it feels very real and very concrete. But still, I love that idea that actually it's just a giant story, and you know what? Which means you're the main character of your own story. And guess what? You're also the writer of your own story. So guess what? You get to choose how it ends and how you navigate that story, and you can empower yourself. And yes, it's much easier than done, but still, uh, I feel like what you mentioned the hero's journey, and actually it's exactly what I had in mind about that idea of those bullies actually were a gift to me. I believe definitely in disguise. Definitely didn't look like it back then. But guys, if you don't know about the hero's journey, it's one of the main components of the vast majority of stories out there. It's one of the most powerful ways to craft a story and like in any media. And one of the core components, like if we want to really sum it up, so it's a journey, right? As it says, the hero's journey. It's a journey in itself, and it's really a journey of accomplishment that goes through different phases. And what is always the case in a hero's journey, you will have some type of struggle. And usually at some point, the hero will hit rock bottom, or at least feel like it hit rock bottom. And thanks to that, it will be able to really rebound the same, the very iconic way of hitting the bottom of the swimming pool so you can go up now. And usually there are some mentors and people to help them empower themselves, etc. Don't want to dive too deep into that one, but yeah, I feel actually, yeah, I will give you an example. Imagine you would read a story about a guy that was born super handsome and super rich and beautifully surrounded with loving people, and he lives that life, perfect life, until he dies. The end. How boring would it be? We all are like, oh, that would be the best life ever. Or not. Actually, there is no intensity, there is no passion. It's just everything silver spooned on a platter. It feels like boring. At least to me, it feels so bland. And yeah, I'm a multi-passionate, so I'm all about fire and passion and having intense feelings and emotions. And so it goes like a roller coaster. And guess what? The valleys have some meaning. And it gives so much more meaning and so much more contrast to the peaks. And yeah, at least in my humble opinion, you can really enjoy the peaks thanks to the valleys, not despite of the valleys. So yeah, that just my quick take. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I heard this phrase about 6 years ago. Someone I love with my whole heart said, "Your oil wasn't cheap." And when I asked her what that meant, she's like, "You've been through hellacious experiences, And because of that, and because you didn't let that hell destroy you, now your oil has more value. And it's something that's said about a lot of people when they go through very difficult situations. Like there's I think there's some Zen teachings in this, but there's also, I'm trying to remember the book where I read this in, but it talks about our capacity to be able to experience joy comes from our capacity to be able to experience deep sadness. And I think that, you and I have both talked about the Pixar film Inside Out. And in Inside Out, and I did see the trailer for the sequel, so I'm excited about that. But in Inside Out, there's 5 main uh, emotional pieces inside this little girl's consciousness and everybody else around her too. It's anger, fear, disgust, sadness, and joy. And all 5 of these components are working to make the little girl Riley happy. Interestingly enough, all 5 of those, only one of them, joy, you would ever consider to be related to happiness. But we actually need to have these 5 other components participate in this process. And if joy was the only one, she wouldn't have the capacity to be able to understand how sadness actually is the fuel for more happiness. And our capacity to be able to go through sad moments, so that if it's like a spectrum, we can only go on this side where there's tons of happiness if we've been over on this side when there's been the opposite. Because how can you measure what true gladness and success and peace and joy and all of these wonderful, gigantically fulfilling experiences unless we have explored the caverns of the depths of the other side? And again, going back to what you were saying a second ago, Kevin, about like you can't find a story where everything is always just happy and perfect and wonderful without there being at least a little bit of something to overcome. And I'm immediately reminded of one of my also favorite movies, Free Guy. So in Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds plays what is perceived to be a non-player character, except that he gains consciousness inside this video game. And he goes around, and instead of shooting people and punching them in the face and earning money that way, he does a bunch of they say nice things, but I don't like the word nice. He does kind things. He's kind to everybody. He saves the day. He becomes a hero. And it takes the game world by storm, where they're like, I want to do kind things to people. What if when I go into this video game world, I'm not just blowing up buildings and shooting people in the face and robbing banks every day? Like, what if I do something different? And it changes the game entirely. And he discovers this other little portal to this other little world that was created by the original creators of the whole game. And I'm not going to give you the insights of the whole story, but even for them to get to this paradise where they can do whatever they want, they still had to face some sort of massive challenge that threatened their entire world. It wasn't just handed to them in a silver key or golden key. There was obstacles. And I'm learning that like you talked about how you needed to experience those bullies that you had back in the day. Like that was something that you needed to go through. I needed to experience my bullies. Because if I didn't experience my bullies and I didn't face those fears, then I would still be living in that fear. It was about 17 years ago. I stood on a street corner in a very, very safe part of the world. I live in Abilene. We have some crime, but it's not bad. But I stood on a street corner. I needed to cross the street. There was a guy on the other side of the street. Looked kind of thuggish. He looked kind of tough. And I made a judgment call in my fear, because that's what I lived in at the time. Perpetual fear, afraid of everything. My state of consciousness was that. And so when I saw this guy, I thought he was going to jump me. I had 20, 30 bucks in my pocket, but I made a judgment call and decided in that moment, this guy is going to hurt me and he's going to take something from me. I had no provocation. I had no reason to think this at all, other than my state of consciousness. So instead of crossing the street like a regular, normal human being would, I took an extra 3.5 blocks. When I got to block 2.5, my little internal Jiminy Cricket popped up on my shoulder, hypothetically, and said, hey, aren't you a grown-ass 27-year-old man that can't cross the street? How long do you want to live this way? I needed to have that external figure, and I needed to have those fears inside of me come out and challenge my method of being, my decision-making process, so that I could decide to do something that ended up changing my life. I joined a boxing gym. In the boxing gym, my coach, Coach Rivas, shouted at me 3 things every day. They're now 3 core principles that I base my existence on. Be first, be uncommon, be solid. The book that I wrote about healing and learning how to grow in self-love is called Be Solid: How to Go Through Hell and Come Out Whole. I talk about what I learned in the boxing gym. If I hadn't gone through those experiences, if I hadn't been bullied by a guy who's now one of my very close friends, interestingly enough, one of my high school bully, absolute asshole, now one of my very close friends. That's the power of healing. That's a powerful story. I'll tell it on a different basis, on a different time. But if I hadn't had those experiences that led me to look at myself in a different way, I wouldn't have gone and chosen to do things that have now led to some of the most magnificent, monumental, life-transforming moments that have got me to be able to sit here and have this conversation with you, Kevin.
Oh, what a beautiful story! And yeah, I remember that one. But I'm so glad that you use this opportunity to tell it to the audience, because it's very powerful to be able to really reframe your own world, your own way to see the world. It's extremely powerful. And guess what, guys? We all have that actually. Yes, D is a superhero. Yes, he's an exceptional being, but not that exceptional in the meaning that you also have that ability to recreate your own world according to your desires. And yes, it might take some time, sure, but why not at least try, right? So, okay, we're slowly but surely going to the end of this beautiful conversation. And I'd love to have some room for you to explain what's cooking, especially with our lovely Heidi here. And yeah, another common friend of ours. And I would like to just pause for a moment and say hey to Gita, I believe it's how it's pronounced your name. Christine that joined us, Dr. New that was on my show last week. So Heidi, of course, Sia, Melissa, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the comments. And thank you so much for all the love, all the interactions, all the collaboration happening in this comment flow. And we really deeply appreciate you guys. Hopefully you won't mind if I forgot to mention your name. Before I forget, I would love to share something special. So I mentioned that earlier. I would like to. Okay, this was all right. So D shared his take, his story of dogfights linked to a real life experience. So I would like just to take a few minutes to tell you about a few creations, a few pieces of art, really, to me, that embody beautifully storytelling and embody beautiful collaboration, and hopefully give you the desire to explore that. I will be very brief, so it will be really teasing you, and hopefully you will dive in by yourself. So very first, I keep mentioning this book often, Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. It's on my About section that will soon be modified, but that will stay. This book is a masterpiece. To me, it's absolutely wonderful. It's a collection of very deep Eastern type wisdom with beautiful pictures. It looks like a children's book. It's extremely deep. I just shared it with a friend last Sunday while we were going on an adventure, much like Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. This book is absolutely magnificent, and it's overflowing with wisdom. And there is a beautiful way of how it's framed in its storytelling. It's seasonal. So it starts in spring, it goes all through all seasons, and it gets very hard and very difficult and very harsh during winter, as it should, because winter is supposed to be a harsh season. There is a meaning for that. And then it comes back to spring with a new beginning, and it's both an ending and a new beginning. It's a wonderful book, one of my very favorite ever. I deeply, warmly recommend you to at least give a look and see if it resonates. Second one, so it's a movie. So actually, it's one of my favorite action movies ever, Kingsman. It's wow, that one blew my mind. I'm a big fan of action movies. That one is next level to me. The storytelling, like the fun they're having, which in an action movie, it's not so easy to find the right um, level between fun and action and good storytelling. And you can see the chemistry between the actors, like it's stunning. Um, and there is an amazing collaboration between the sensei, the Jedi master, and his Padawan. And it's absolutely beautiful to see. I recently, not so recently, a few weeks ago, I shared a snippet of this movie on LinkedIn, the bar scene, where so Colin Firth states, "Manners make it man." And believe me, it has nothing Shakespearean. It's very raw, very rough, very powerful, and just a snippet of this movie. This movie is absolutely amazing, and I love that. Yes, it's very violent. Actually, one of the most violent I ever watched. Like the action scenes are extremely intense. And at the same time, there is a beautiful celebration of a collaboration in the form of an analogy to the Knights of the Round Table. So you have Arthur, you have Lancelot, you have the whole thing, and Merlin that brings a very interesting flavor to the mix. So if you still haven't watched that one, I warmly invite you to take a look at least. And if you did, well, do like me, just watch it again. I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it deeply. Then the last, and actually not the last, because I would like to make a special dedicast to Benedict. So this one, I told you about that. It's called a webtoon. So it's a new type of manga that you scroll on your phone. So this one is called Jungle Juice. You can find it on the Webtoon app, and it's totally free to read, as long as you read one chapter a day. And basically, it's the story of a young man that gets his DNA gets mixed to the DNA of a dragonfly. And believe me, his life changes very radically. So he starts to have dragonfly powers, to be part dragonfly, which, yeah, imagine you wake up and you have wings in your back. How would you feel? So it's very interesting. Actually, it's a beautiful reflection on being an outcast, being from one day to another. Actually, your life changes entirely, and you become a weirdo in just overnight. And I feel connected to that. Well, I was born a weirdo, right? I was born different, and I'm now very proud of that. But back then, it was a pain. It's why I became bullied, right? Because attracted unwanted attention because I was so different, because I was standing out. Dee, I know you have a kind of similar story, different yet kind of similar. So Jungle Juice, it really approaches that in a beautiful way, like what happens when you become an outcast and how to deal with that. And actually, so I will spoil you just a little bit. It happens very fast in the webtoon. So the hero finds like-minded people, like-shaped people, not dragonflies necessarily, but other insect people. And he collaborates, he creates beautiful friendships and beautiful connections with people, or he fights other insects. And so the art is amazing, it's stunning. This story is wow. Like, I read many of these webtoons already. It's starting to become almost an addiction, I have to admit. So I read already many of them. That one is absolutely in my top three. It's one of the very best I ever read. So highly recommended. And I would like just to mention one of my favorite video games, which is not your typical action-based video game or strategy or anything like that. It's really a story-based video game. It's called Life of Strange. Life is Strange. It has been created by, so actually a French author, a French fantasy author, very famous, Alain Damasio. And he created a studio, a video game studio, and Life is Strange. So it was a collaboration between his studio and another. And it's the story of a young woman, a photographer, or at least studying photography to become a professional photographer, and she develops the power to rewind, to go back in time. And so during that game, so it's really story based. So you follow this story, and regularly you will have the possibility to go back in time and maybe change what happened. And you realize that every time you do that, it has very deep consequences. So it's extremely interesting how, you know that famous line from Spider-Man, right? That if you have a very powerful, very great power, you will have very big responsibilities that come with that. So Life is Strange. So I don't have any visual. I didn't plan that to share that, but amazing video game. Life is Strange. If you're not into video games, it could totally change your perspective on it. So yeah, that was me. So now let's go back to D, because talking about collaboration. So sorry guys, I'm totally off the comments game. I will get back to it in a moment. But D, could you explain to us a little bit, what are you collaborating on these days? Who are your collaboration partners currently?
Well, aside from Heidi and the show we do on the Hero Story Garden, so one of my main focuses in business is clarity and helping people be articulate with their message. So if you see me do anything with Superman stuff, or I position myself as Doctor Strange too, also awesome superhero. Clearly, Kevin's a fan. Uh, so one of my gifts is helping people be able to see their own stories more clearly and see themselves more clearly and gain that kind of clarity to be able to express that and articulate that in a way that actually connects with, my microphone's always in the way, connects with the heart of the person. So much of I watched this documentary yesterday, or part of a documentary called The Social Dilemma, and it explores the ways that social media has been used in a variety of ways to really try to control us in the ways that we operate. And so much of the big social media, I'm referencing primarily Facebook here, and it's not a secret, but so much of the stuff on several of the social media platforms is advertisement based, trying to get us to make certain purchasing decisions. And they, when I spend a lot of time in the coaching capacity, one of the things I was taught is to, and you guys, if you've done any coaching, a lot of us have, we're taught that we need to find the pain points of our market, the people that we want to serve. We've got to find their pain, and we've got to take this knife and we have to dig into their pain with our messaging and point and like really like we're shivving them or something, and really like dig into that pain so that they will really want to buy something from us to alleviate that pain. I have always hated that shit. It's a terrible story. You don't have to dig deep in to know that it hurts to feel pain, to know that it hurts to feel rejected, to know that it hurts to feel fear, to know that it hurts to go through suffering. You don't have to do any of that crap. So digging in deeper to your audience's pain, actually, I think it pushes them away, because you're not showing up as somebody that's actually a friend. If instead you will communicate a different kind of story to them about how you understand their pain, but you're actually more focused on not only helping them go through that pain, but get to the other side of that pain and live in that free guy place where things are actually working out for you and you don't have to prove yourself anymore. What a better, beautiful story. So what I've been doing is I've been helping businesses, especially heart-centered businesses and business leaders, tell their stories to connect with the hearts and the souls of their customers. And in terms of collaboration, I am partnered with one of the most amazing, incredible artists and videography people in the universe. Actually, I'll go a step further, in the multiverse. Her name is Meredith Ochoa. Now, if you haven't seen anything that Meredith's done, go look her up. Meredith, Meredich, sorry, TH, Ochoa, Ochoao. All of her videos are incredible. Not only that, she and I share this belief that truth telling is the ultimate marketing. Authenticity, ultimate marketing plan. And if you look at things on an energetic scale, because all of us, I believe, here operate on a higher level of consciousness, and we all understand how energy works. Energy, you got joy at the top, love underneath that, and all the other things below that. You get down into the very, very bottom, you've got shame and anger and fear. We don't want to operate in that place. That's where the pain shivving crap is. We're not operating in that level of consciousness. We're way above that. Way above that, love and joy. Guess what's on top of love and joy? Authenticity. So your ability to authentically communicate who you are and the difference that you make in the world makes you instantly stand out from everybody else that you could consider to be competition. But also, you're hitting this place inside the people that you want to serve's life. And if you, in case you didn't know this, the heart emits an energy frequency that is 5,000 times as powerful as the mind. So stop trying to compete with other people and going after people's attention, which, by the way, the attention span of the average human is about 5.5 seconds. Goldfish have us beat on that. Stop going for the attention spans. Go for the heart. You want to know how to go for the heart? You work with me and you work with Meredith. We'll make your magic and your dreams and your message shine like nothing else.
I love that so much, and yeah, really, I'm so impressed by what you created, Meredith, and you. So huge kudos, guys! If you don't know D yet, please follow him on LinkedIn or anywhere else. Or if you are interested in checking this story, he talked about the dog fight and planes and dog. And that analogy to bullies, I warmly invite you to check him. And if we mentioned that amazing community a few times, if you don't know what the Hounds of Business are, that amazing community created by Mike Ashabrana, just reach out to D or I. We're both ambassadors of the community. It's an amazing, very collaborative community. So that's how we met. D and I can you see the chemistry, right? So for us, it was very easy because it started right away. But really, that community allows us to create that. And actually, all the collaborations you mentioned, you met through the hounds. So, guys, if you feel lonely in your business, your entrepreneurial journey, we warmly invite you to at least have a look. Just reach out to Dee or me about the hounds. I will just mention a little thing still about collaboration before closing this beautiful container. So I'm prepping up. I'm not officially starting to promote that, but I'm preparing an amazing masterclass in 2 weeks about social alchemy. And I won't tease too much. I said I'm not promoting yet. I will start already at the end of the week. But if you're curious, just check it out. Leave your email if you would like to know about that. There is a very yummy freebie that will be waiting for you. I'm not saying anything else. I'm just teasing you. And in any case, thank you so much for joining us today. We really deeply appreciate your presence. You were many to be very vocal in the comments. Thank you so very much. You know how much it means to us. So thank you for your vibe. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your collaboration, your co-creation to all of you. Now I will just leave the floor to Dee for final word. Go ahead.
Oh man, I don't know that I could say anything better than what you just did, my friend. Yes, the guys, I would love to. I don't think StreamYard lets us do it on this end. Be able to collaborate and answer you guys' questions and say things in the midst of our show here. I know it take away from my interaction with Kevin in a way, but to everybody that has joined and listened in at any given point during our show, and especially I know there's a lot of people that will watch and tune in, but not ever actually comment. So for you guys to engage in conversation and to let us know that you're here and to bring and join your energy into ours, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you, Kevin, for giving me the opportunity to come in and be a part of this conversation and to talk about collaboration. And that's we have lived the message this morning, my friends. So thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity you gave me to just share my insights and my perspectives and share some stories and hopefully give all of you guys some inspiration and encouragement and uplifting insights into something to carry you through the rest of your day and the rest of your week.
Awesome. Enjoy a wonderful Wednesday, guys, and see you next week with Michelle Lax next week. Bye-bye.